working any harder. We're not working any longer. We're not taking on any more risk. We're using the same dollars to go and produce more for us. Instead of us bleeding out all of our money to the banks, we're going to keep all that money in our financial lives. And that all comes with mindset, shifting away from what we started with, the 95% that do traditional financial planning versus the 5% that do things differently. Hey, welcome to Wealth Webinar. My name is Stephen Nagy. I'll be hosting today on behalf of Chris Naugle and the Money School team. So today we're going to do something a little bit different, and we're going to get into, what is all of this BYOB stuff? We have a lot of people, and just curious, is anybody here new? Like, is anybody brand new to this? Is the first Wealth Webinar or the first webinar maybe you've attended to with what we call the Chris Naugle, the Naugleverse, as I've kind of nicknamed it back here for today, the Naugleverse. Is anybody brand new? Just write new in the chat box. I see on the chat a lot of familiar names. So this has really started to become our weekly go-to webinar, where it gives us a chance to introduce new strategies, to introduce new experts, to talk about what we're doing to be the bank and exactly how we're doing it. And so we've gone a little bit away from, the basics when it comes to this wealth webinar. And what we've done is we've built other weekly shows around the basics now. So that way we can keep this one fresh, we can keep this one new, and we can keep you coming back week after week after week, because you always know you're going to learn something new. However, every now and then we'd like to just take a step back and say, okay, whether you've been here for a while, whether you're brand new, let's just take a step back and let's start from the beginnings. Let's go back to the basics, as they say, and say, okay, how and why? How can I work with you guys, and why should I work with you? Because let's face it, are there other companies out there that teach things like becoming your own bank, that teach the infinite banking concept, that teach about real estate investing, that teach about private passive investing, that teach financial strategies? Are there other companies out there? Absolutely. So if there's a lot of other companies out there that do what we do, why is it that we have clients and friends and members and students come back week after week after week for years and years and years? And if you're brand new to this, why should you be one of those people? Why would you want to devote your time? And one thing you're going to understand about us is we really live and die by the motto, let's give all of our best stuff away for free. And so it's a double-edged sword when it comes to giving your best stuff away for free, though, because when somebody gives you something, how much value do you subconsciously put on that gift? Typically not a lot. And there's lots of different examples of this. We've tested this in the past. We've done trainings and events where we literally say, hey, here's a free ticket, just come. And then we do the exact same event, except we say, here's an event, it's a $500 ticket price. And guess what? We've done events where we get more people there, not only better people that are committed, but more people on the event when we charge $500 than if we just give it away for free. It's the same content, the same training. Why? It's because of the perceived value. And so there's a fine line when it comes to giving stuff away for free versus charging, and what that looks like to make sure that the value is still there. And so a lot of people, I think, see that we do these free webinars like, oh, that's just content that's trying to sell me something else, or, it's not that great. They probably give this stuff away for free that they make their new people do. And then all the real trainings like behind a paywall or something like that. And that's just not the way it works. Yes, we do a virtual paid training called the Money School Essentials 3-day. And I'll talk about that here in just a minute. And yes, there's a ticket price, but do you know why we charge for that? Because of what I just told you. Because we did that test 4 years ago, and we found more people come on when we actually charge for the tickets. And then what do we do with that money that we charge for the tickets? We pay advertising so we can introduce more people to the system. So we end up not making any money off of that event, even though we charge for it, but it allows us to build a bigger exposure and a bigger market community, is the best way to say it. Build our community to bring more awesome folks like everybody that's over here chatting in right now into this ecosystem, into this I'll just keep calling it a Naugleverse, the Naugleverse. Now it just happens to be that I'm Stephen Nagy, so Nagy, Naugle, it's kind of hand in hand. So we're all one and the same here. We're all family. So with that being said, I know Shauna's over in the chat box commenting and things like that. So Shauna, if you see anything that pops up today, I'm more than happy to answer it, talk about it, get in deeper with it, stuff like that. So just please interrupt me. I don't know, maybe I'll move you over to panelist so you can quickly unmute and interrupt me. But Shauna's going to be over there in the chat box all day today, sharing links, letting me know when there's questions, stuff of that nature. So put your questions in the Q&A and we're going to dive into this stuff today. All right. So with all that being said, this is what we're going to be getting into today. Fair enough? I saw that there are quite a few new people that are on here today, so that's excellent. And one of the things, if you're new, you're going to notice over in the chat box, you're going to see if you ask questions or you comment on stuff, you're going to see a lot of other people that are on this webinar right now that are commenting back to you, maybe answering questions for you or guiding you or sharing their experience. Like, hey, that's a great question. That's exactly what I thought when I started, and here's where I'm at today. You're going to get a lot of that. Why? Because one of the things that we're most proud of is our community. It seems to be we have a huge attraction for people that not only want to do better for themselves and their families financially, but also want to go out there and help other people. It seems like we attract people in this community that have big hearts. And I do credit our team for that. I credit Chris Naugle, I credit Shauna, I credit myself, I credit all of our money mentors for building the community that way, because we literally everything we do, and if Shauna was at the office, I'd pull up the sign with the core values of our company, but everything we do starts with solving the client's problem first and foremost, no matter what. So if that takes doing all of these free webinars each week, if this takes creating YouTube content and education and training on a daily basis, if that takes getting on the phone for free and not charging for consultations and strategy calls, our entire team is committed to doing that. And I think because we lead by example and start from the heart of building this, I think that that's the kind of people that we attract. Does anyone believe in things like the law of attraction? Like back in the day, there was the book, The Secret. When I was a financial advisor, so for those of you that don't know me, coming out of college, I got into the traditional financial planning space. So I went out and I got fully licensed with Ameriprise Financial, my Series 7, Series 66, life, health, and annuity insurance license, everything that a financial advisor has. And I learned that side of the world. So traditional investing, traditional financial planning, traditional ways of looking at money, traditional ways of living life even. Go out and get a job, give 6% of your paycheck to a 401k, work your way up the corporate ladder, do what you can to try and save money. Like all the traditional ways, that's what I was brought up on. And a lot of you know this story, but at one point I was invited to a real estate investment seminar. And my cousin and I, we went in and we attended this thing. And I listened to a guy at the front of the room up on a stage talking about entrepreneurship, talking about controlling his financial future, creating his own paycheck, reaching goals that he sets. Now, as a financial advisor, the ironic thing was I was talking to clients about the same stuff. As an advisor, I was painting a pretty picture for my clients about what retirement looks like, what their children's education looks like, what family vacations look like, all of that stuff. And then I would help them try and build a traditional plan, a traditional path to achieve those goals. And sitting at that seminar, it was very similar. But instead of the traditional route of working your way up the corporate ladder and all the 401ks and all that stuff, it was more get out there and hustle and do what others aren't willing to do, and go out there and build the life of your dreams, and don't rely on someone else paying you. Generate your own pay and control your own investments. And, oh, hey, you want to go buy a new boat? Well, no, don't go work overtime at your job and have somebody give that. Go out there and buy real estate and leverage real estate and use other people's money and strategies to buy real estate that create cash flow for you. And that cash flow now gives you the money you need to go buy things like boats. And so I started at a young age learning, okay, my profession in the traditional means of investing versus what the wealthy do. And then as a traditional financial advisor, I started to meet with some higher net worth individuals, and different partners in our office would have clients that were high net worth individuals. So I started looking at, okay, well, what is the difference between the guy over here that this family's barely making 100 grand a year and struggling to get by with no retirement? What's the difference in what they're doing versus what this family over here that's multimillionaires, owns all this stuff and basically does what they want? What's the difference in these people? And I started to see that most of the wealthy had things in common. They owned real estate. They owned businesses. They had employees. They had other investments outside of what we were doing in the traditional financial planning field. And that's the cool thing too, is the two can meet, but you have to understand, in my opinion, how it all operates for it to work together in the best way possible. So I saw this from a young age, the traditional side, and I started studying it, and then the wealthy, the entrepreneur side, and what that looks like. And I quickly learned that, hey, I wanted to be on the entrepreneurial investor side. But I also realized that it's not all fun and games. It's not all wins. It's not all, okay, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I'm going to start a business. I'm going to buy investments and I'm going to become a millionaire. That's not the way it is at all. There's way more to it, way more involved. And so when you're on a new path, a path that's different, and remember, something like less than 5% of people are actual business owners. When you look at people that own investment real estate, the percentage are very small. It goes right along with what we talk about all the time, where we have the 5% versus the 95%, the way that the traditional people work versus the way that what we teach and what people on here are understanding and doing. And so what I found is when you do what everybody else is either not doing or they're not willing to do or not wanting, whatever the case is, it's up to you. And so when it's up to you, it's 100% mindset. It is, when I fail time and time and time again, what's going to drive me to wake up again in the morning and do it again and fail again until I get to where I want to go. Or I'm going to wake up in the morning and grind from the minute I wake up to the minute I go to bed without taking a break, because I know what I'm trying to accomplish. Where this guy over here wakes up, has a nice coffee, goes to the gym, goes to his 9-to-5 job, comes home, hangs out with the family, watches TV at night, and then falls asleep nicely. Where the guy over here is grinding. You don't always see that. But what makes that person successful? Most business owners fail. Most investors fail. Most give up. So what makes that one successful? It's mindset. It's driving. And so at a young age, when I started learning these differences, working as an advisor, starting to get into the investor side, the entrepreneurial space, I started to really just read a lot. I started saying, okay, well, if this is a mental game that truly creates success, what can I do to become mentally strong? And it's not anything you could do one time and you're done with it. It has to become habit. It has to become your everyday life. And so over the years, just as an example, I've seen different, brands that kind of talk about like lifestyle investors and lifestyle entrepreneurs and things like that. And I actually really like that branding, because to me, to be a true entrepreneur investor, it is a lifestyle. Now you can build this lifestyle any way you want to. And that's the beauty of life and business, is we're all different. So I know investors, I know business owners that want to go out and they want to travel every week, and they want to go visit people, and they want to go to business meetings, and they want to fly around the country and do all this stuff. Great, build that business, build your business around doing that. I don't like to travel as much anymore. I like to go out maybe once a month, once every couple months, and go to a mastermind, go to an event, travel with family, whatever. So that's what I built my life around now. I will admit April was a little busy, but looking forward to the rest of my month, rest of my year, that's exactly how I've got it built out. Why? Because that's the way I want it built out. And so that's the cool thing about all this, is you can really build a plan that fits what you want to do in life, but it's that mental aspect. So all that came up because I asked about the secret, the attraction marketing. You put out what you want to get back. You get what you receive, or you get what you put out in response. And so when you look at why do we give so much away for free, it's because we know the more we give, the more we're going to get back. And if we do this consistently and predictably, just over and over and over go for weeks, for months, and now for years, it works. But it takes mental toughness to do it every single day, every single week, and every single minute of your life. Again, This is a lifestyle. So those of you that are on here right now, the reason I bring all this up is because all of you should be thinking to yourselves, if you don't know already, who am I? Where am I? And what does that look like moving forward? Does that make sense? Okay. So I'm going to draw a little bit since I got a whiteboard here, and we're going to break this out. And I want you guys to communicate with me in the chat box. So when I ask, who are you? Let's just take that back. What does that really mean? Let's break it down into just a binary choice. Who are you? And what I mean by that is active versus passive. So let's just start there. So who are you? Active versus passive. And what I mean by that is you would fall under the active category. Let's say you're building wealth. Your primary focus might be building wealth or, creating income. And the one thing that you're going to have on the active side is time. Okay. Now, here's where you got to really get honest with yourself. Is if you're on the active side, you're actively knowing you need to build wealth. You know you don't have enough money to just invest and have your money make money for you and be able to retire or live the lifestyle you want. You probably younger, probably have kids, you have active mortgage. Maybe you own some real estate. Maybe you own a business. Great. But you actively need to go out there and do whatever you need to do to generate income and more money for yourself. And so this is why I write down time, because if this is you, what I'm going to hear quite often is, yes, this is me, but I don't have the time. You don't understand, Stephen. I work a full-time job. I have kids. I'm married. I have parents I take care of. I have hobbies. I have whatever. I have a life. I get it. Okay. But at some point, you got to say, okay, this goes back to that mental strength. What can I do if I know I'm active? I know I need to generate more money. What I'm doing now is not going to work. How do I move around my life to generate enough time to be able to go out to do what I need to do? Now, with that being said, can we eliminate the time aspect? Maybe not eliminate it, but lower it. Can we lower the time aspect? How would we do that? Well, first off, we're going to decide what we're going to do, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. So if you're active, what is it you can be doing to generate more money? Especially when it comes to within this world that we live in with BYOB. So I'll come back to that. I just want you guys thinking about this right now. So what is it you can do to generate more time? And then how? How are you going to do it? And this is where it becomes important. Because well, I'll just give you an example. Let's talk real estate for a minute. Let's just say, okay, because this is where I started. Okay, I know what I'm doing now isn't going to get me to where I want to be. I know I'm going to have to take control, responsibility, and do something extra to accomplish what I want to in life financially. Okay, is anybody like that on here? Okay, that's how I was. Now, what do I want to do? Okay, let's say that I learned about real estate investing and I said, okay, real estate investing makes a ton of sense to me. There's so many ways to do it. You can make money in any market. I can leverage other people's money. I can get started with strategy with none of my own money. Cool. I'm going to do real estate. And one of the best ways to get started with none of your own money quickly in real estate is by wholesaling. Okay. I'm not teaching wholesaling right now. I'm just giving you some ideas. All right. So let's say you want to get into real estate wholesaling. Okay. So what are my options for getting into real estate wholesaling? Well, I could go on the internet and I could buy some online courses and I could watch some videos and I could go out there and start trying to do what they teach me. I could go on YouTube and watch a bunch of free videos and go out there and try and do what they teach me. The problem with those, or the plus on those, is it's very inexpensive to do that. Okay, you get free videos or cheap courses online and go try and do it. But it's going to take you a lot more time. Okay, what I recommend, and this is for anything, especially if time's an issue for you, is you're going to want to get a mentor or a coach. And this is where your mental acuity, where you kind of have to start thinking not as much like a traditional person. I need to start thinking more like an entrepreneur, an investor, a wealthy think. Because a wealthy doesn't ask how much something costs. They ask, how much is that going to cost me if I don't do it? Or, what do we always say? There's the value, the cost is irrelevant in the absence of value, right? So if something's valuable enough, who cares what it costs, right? Let me give you an example. If I watch a bunch of videos and it takes me a year to go make $10,000, takes me a year to go make $10,000, but I only spent, let's say, $1,000 to do this, I made a 10x return on my money in a year. But what if my coach I hire, I pay $10,000 to, and he teaches me in the first month to go out there and make 10K. Okay. Now, what is better? I made no return on my money. I paid 10, I made 10. This one I paid 1, I made 10. So I made 10x my money. Who would rather make 0 as opposed to 10x? I'd rather make 0 all day long. Why? Because of time. Time is one of the most important things out of everything that we do. And you're going to see, as I start getting into all the different stuff in this Naugle verse, everything that we do is built around this equation right here, comparing cost versus time, comparing time to value, comparing strategy to time. And how can we create this path forward and get there in the quickest time possible? Because at the end of the day, that's all we all have is time. And so if I can generate $10 million to live the life I want in 2 years, I'm going to do everything I can do that in 2 years, as opposed to having it take 20 years and I get to the end with my goals and now it's too late because I can't enjoy life because I'm beyond that point, right? Or whatever the case is. And so I just want to kind of talk, mental is not only that toughness of waking up every day and understanding all the principles of The Secret and all the principles of the wealthy and everything else. It's also mindset along how do we look at money? And do we understand how money really flows and really operates? And I think you guys can see as I go here today, we don't want to do 6 live webinars every single week. Chris doesn't want to shoot 8 hours of video every single Monday, so we put new content on YouTube every single day of the week. We don't want to spend our weekends doing 3-day Money School Essentials trainings for no reason. We do this stuff because not only is it so valuable to teach and share with others, but because we kind of have to spend all this time teaching this stuff. Because at the end of the day, it's not complicated. And I can ask anybody on here that's been following us for at least 12 months. Is this stuff becoming second nature for you? Yes. Are you always learning something new? Absolutely. That's the game of life, is always learning something new. But somebody that's maybe only 6 months in with us, they might still think, hey, there's still a lot of complicated stuff going on here. But it's not. It's just exposing you to something you've never been taught before. In college, in traditional living, 95%, right? So that's why we have to do a lot of this stuff. All right, we're doing good, Shauna? We're rolling. All right. So over here, when you're active, let's explore ways, whatever your active goal is to generate, to create, build a business, invest in real estate, earn a certain amount of additional income, whatever that goal is, let's reverse engineer that back down. How are we going to get you there? Are you going to join a mastermind? Are you going to hire a coach? Are you going to join a coaching program? Are you going to do you learn from reading books and watching YouTube videos, and that's all you need? Maybe you just need a marketing system to plug into and you're good to go otherwise. But let's reverse engineer this back down to what is needed for you to achieve those goals. All right, so those are for the active investors. Now the passive investors, as I'm sure everybody can guess, that's the opposite, plain and simple. So the passive, and you can be a combination of the two. As you generate more and more active income, you start sliding more and more of it into the passive category. And all passive means, at the end of the day, that's really it. Money makes more money, okay? Now, is there anything that's truly passive? I want to be clear, no. Longer term, yes, but it still takes a little bit of effort to generate, just as an example. Okay, do we have passive investors? Anybody passive investors? Write passive in there. If this is what you guys are doing, you have money out there making more money for you. And there is one caveat on passive that I want to say, and this will lead us into the next section also. When I talk about passive income, I personally feel like if you truly are generating passive income, you need to have control of it. Okay, and I'll explain what I mean by that. So Because if you think about a 401k, what is a 401k technically doing? You put money in it, you forget about it, and that money grows. So technically that's passive wealth growth. It's not passive income because you can't touch the money till later on, but it's passive wealth growth. It's passive money making more money. However, do we have control over this 401k? No, we don't. Yes, we can choose what kind of like funds the money's invested in, and you can move that around inside there. But at the end of the day, are you really controlling that money in that 401k? Oh, it's all in funds. And those funds are controlled by mutual fund managers or company CEOs and board members and everything involved with publicly traded companies. We don't really have control of that. Not only that, if you do pull the money out early, if you need the money early, you're going to get penalized, and everything else. So we're giving up control. So to me, like a 401k is giving your money to a financial advisor. They're controlling it. Sure, it's growing for you passively, but it's someone else. So to me, truly passive money is money that we can control. Now, we don't need to be involved directly in the investment, but we need to have control to a point over that investment through a contract at least. And so what I mean by that, let's just use a simple example. What I know a lot of people on here do is private money lending, okay? Okay, so private money lending is real simple. Let's say that's a house. And this house is worth $200,000. And then this is an investor. Let's say this is me. Let's say this is Shauna. I had red marker, I do red. Okay, so here's what happens. So this is me, I'm a real estate investor. Okay, I'm a real estate investor. I say, I'm gonna buy this house for $100,000. I'm gonna put $20,000 into it, and I'm gonna sell it for $200,000. Okay, I'm gonna buy the house for 100 grand. I'm gonna put 20 grand into it. I'm gonna sell it for $200,000. And that's what I do as a real estate investor. Shauna says, okay, I have 120K sitting here in an IRA, let's say, or in an IBC policy. Okay, so private money lending, real simple. Shauna wants to passively control her investments, her money. She wants her money to make more money. So she wants her $120,000 she has to make more money, and she wants to be in control of it. So Shauna says, hey, Stephen, I'd like to lend you my $120,000. And I say, great, I need $120,000 to flip this house. And Shauna says, okay, well, what does that look like? And then we create a contract known as a PN that says the terms. Okay, and the terms inside of this could very easily say, okay, I'm going to pay you 12% interest monthly, paid monthly for 6 months. Get the 120 back at the end of the 6 months. And if that doesn't happen, Shauna gets the house worth $200,000. So now Shauna knows that when she lends me the money, she's in control, because I'm either going to pay Shauna the terms of the contract, which is secured by a mortgage, just like banks do. And there's a little more to it, so don't worry, we'll teach you this. I'm just going over the basics. Shauna knows she's either going to make her money grow by 12% annually over the next 6 months, or if I don't follow, she's going to get this house worth $200,000 that she can then take and sell and make even more money off of. So she has complete control over the next 6 to 12 months of knowing exactly what's going to happen. And then she gets the money back. I pay her back at the end of the term, and she does this over and over again. So for Shauna to underwrite this deal, she's going to make sure that this is a good deal, she's going to need to do a few things. So Shauna's going to need to, first off, make sure I'm who I say I am, my company's who I say I am, and everything's legitimate there. So that can be done through relationships, through referrals, through events, through things like Private Money Club, or and then once Shauna knows who I am and is comfortable with that, then she needs to understand the deal. So she needs to look at the deal. Is the house really worth 200 grand? Is it really going to take 20,000 in rehab? Is it really going to take 6 months to do? Is it really, is he really buying it for 100 grand? So wants to double check all that stuff. Okay. So this is what we call underwriting a deal. So even though this is a passive money making money, Shauna still does have to spend time underwriting this deal. Now, ways to speed up the passive side of this, pretty simple. We can either A, pay somebody else to underwrite this entire deal for us. We can even pay a company. So I know a company, for example, called Plus Underwriting. It stands for Private Lending Underwriting Servicing. Okay, Plus they're called. And you could pay them to do a full background on the investor and company, a full background in an underwriting of the deal, and give you a report that you could then make an educated decision off of. You could even make the borrower, so me in this example as the investor, you can make me pay for that underwriting report that I provide to you. Why would I do that? Because I need Shauna's money. Because I know if I get Shauna's $120,000, I'm going to pay her a few $1,000s in interest, great, but I'm going to make $60,000 on this flip. So it makes a lot of sense for me to borrow Shauna's money and pay her because I know I'm going to make a lot more money on that deal. And if I got to pay another couple $1,000s to Shauna to make her comfortable so I can make 58 instead of 60,000, I'm happy to do so, right? Would any of you be willing to do that? And so there's and on top of that, so you can pay somebody else to do that passive part or the active part of the passive investment. Or when it comes to especially private lending, as you do a first deal with somebody and a second deal with somebody and a third deal with somebody and a fourth deal with somebody, do you think it becomes easier? And do you think it takes less time to do future deals? It takes a lot less time. Why? Because you have a relationship already, you trust the person, and you get a feel for how they do deals. So then when you look at their deal spec sheet or their perfect loan proposal or the underwriting on the property itself, you can quickly identify what they're doing, that verify, yes, it's what they're doing is right, and you can move on very quickly. So the more deals, so you do that through building relationships. And that's back to where we kind of open with community, where we're always building this community of people helping other people. And I'm just curious, everybody that's on right now, if you could chat in the box. In this scenario right here, just write borrower or lender. If you had a deal or something that you could use money for, you could borrow money from somebody else, write borrower. I'm just curious. If you were a borrower on right now, write borrower. If you're somebody that's on right now that's like, man, that's pretty cool. Like I would lend my money to somebody when it's backed by real estate and I'm going to get good returns and it's consistent and it's passive. How many of you would be a lender? I'm just curious how many borrowers are lenders. Yeah, so you get a pretty good balance coming in here. Lender, borrower, lender, borrower. Yeah, so some both. Absolutely. And so those of you that are lenders and those of you that are borrowers, why would you not connect together to do this? And again, this is all community, guys. This is all why we do this with community. All right. So does that kind of make sense, some of that? And then some other things we can do on the passive side, maybe, hey, I don't want to underwrite deals every 6 months. I get the money back. It sits for a little bit. Well, what else can you do? Well, instead of looking for a 6-month deal, why don't you go find somebody that has this same deal with these same terms, except they don't want to pay you back for 5 years. Okay. Now you simply know that I'm going to make a decision today to lend my money. And as long as I get my monthly payments each month, I know for the next 5 years, I don't need to do anything else with that 120 grand because it's going to be with this person and they're going to pay me a good return for the next 5 years. So we start looking at longer term deals. And one of the reasons I really love real estate is because does real estate allow us to do all of this? Okay. Forget about the technical aspect of lending and underwriting and contracts and mortgages and all that. Just generally speaking, just think about real estate for just a second. Does anybody know somebody that made a lot of money in like 2005, 2006, 2007 in real estate? I know you can't raise your hands. Just write like 2007 in the chat box. Does anybody know somebody that made a lot of money in the last real estate bubble? I do. I know people that made millions and millions of dollars. Now, does anybody also know anybody that lost some money in 08 in real estate? Some. I know some of those that made millions that lost it all. I know some that made millions in the run-up that lost a little bit, but basically weathered the storm and did very well afterwards as well. Now, with that said, how many of you on here know somebody that made a lot? No, 05 to 08 was a huge appreciation market, right? We'd agree with that. If I pulled up a chart, real estate from 05, 04, 05 to 07, 08 was like this. Okay? And then it came down starting in 08. So 08 to let's say 2012 was a downturn market. How many of you know somebody that made a lot of money in real estate between 2008 and 2012? A down market. I know I do. So I know people, and then 2012 to about 2016 kind of had more of a level normal market. 2016 things started to pop. It started to do some weird stuff. 2020 hit, and now we've got this crazy appreciated hockey stick again from 2020 to 2024. So I don't know about you guys, but I know people that made money in the up market, 05 to 08. I know people that made money in the down market, 08 to 12. I know people that made money in 12 to 16. And I know people that in the last 3 or 4 years have made a ton of money in real estate also. So what that shows us is it doesn't matter what the market's doing. Intelligent investors know how to make money in any market. So you got to ask yourself, if I'm passive, what strategies do I need to be learning right now to be prepared for the next market we have coming up? Well, if we've had a crazy appreciation over the last 3 or 4 years, what can we expect in the next 3 to 4 years? Probably some kind of pullback. Now, whether it's a drastic one, whether it's a small one, there'll be some kind of pullback. It's just the way markets work throughout all of history. So if we know we're going to see a little pullback, we know people are overextended right now, does it make sense to start learning about short sales, foreclosures? Does it start making sense to learn how to go in and work with people that are in financial trouble, that bought too high, that are overappreciated? Does it make sense to go in and look at, okay, well, what do people need right now? People need somewhere to live, rental properties. Maybe we invest in or we learn developing, where we're developing rent-to-own type properties, okay? So if you're on the active side, maybe that's what we start learning about. If you're on the passive side, what are you going to do? The exact same thing. Because you might not be the one going out there using these strategies, but is it important to understand those strategies so you understand what your investors are doing? So when you lend them money, you know it's a good investment. Does that make sense? So whether you're a lender or a borrower on this call right now, to me, it's time to start being prepared, start learning what is next. What does that strategy look like? And let's be smart with it, no matter which side of this coin that we're on, passive or active. All right, any questions on that stuff that I can hit real quick? See a few Q&As. Oh, cool. Test share the core values. Oscar said, what was the name of that service that does the underwriting? It's called Plus Underwriting. Actually, yeah, somebody just shared a link over in the chat box. Thank you for doing that, Mohammed. You can also find them on privatemoneyclub.com.
You ever feel like you don't have control of your real estate business or your money? That's right. The big banks and the institutions, they're in control, right? I know you've felt that before. Private Money Club puts you back in the driver's seat. As members often tell us, it's a total game changer. Join the community of like-minded lenders and borrowers by going to privatemoneyclub.com and sign up.
So now we talked a little bit about kind of what type of investor we are, why it's important, and start thinking a little bit about what we're going to start changing and doing either on the active or passive side to generate more money, okay? Now what we want to do is we really want to look at what is this Naugleverse and where do you start coming into it? And where are you today in it? And then where do you go next within the Naugleverse? Because that's where it can get a little, I guess, a little complicated, a little convoluted, I guess would be the best way to say it. We really have 3 different arms to the Naugleverse is really the best way for me to explain this. And you can kind of from there see where you'll fit in and some different action steps you can be doing moving forward. Again, just to be clear, if you're new on here, I don't have anything to sell, so I'm not selling anything on this. I'm not going to like hit you at the end with some special offer or anything like that. But we do have money mentors and blueprint strategists that can work with you to get in a little more detail. So if there's something that you see on here that's like, man, I really want to start a policy. Man, I really need to start self-directing my retirement dollars. Man, I really want to learn about private lending. I really want to get in the private money club. I really, whatever it is, we'll start sharing some of those links on how to implement this stuff into your life. But I just want you to know I'm not selling anything on here. It's all about BYOB. Okay, I guess I didn't need to write that. It's right there. What is BYOB? It's about control and solving the money problem. The way that we do this within the Naugleverse. All right, first off, we have Money School. We have the vehicle, which is the Money Multiplier infinite banking concept. And then we have what's called the Private Money Club. The way to look at this is pretty easy, actually. And so I just want to walk through it, okay? So we start with the Money School. The Money School is first and foremost education. Now, some of the education also goes under PMC, but at the end of the day, Money School, all these webinars we do and everything like that, we kind of consider all this stuff Money School, okay? So it's the education arm of the Naugleverse, so to say. So this is where you're going to learn all these different financial strategies, where we start talking about defeating the 3 wealth killers between taxes and inflation and volatility, how we stop bleeding out all the money in our lives, how we control our wealth and solve our money problem, okay? So Money School is going to be that education. So this is the webinars, the weekly webinars, YouTube, essentials. So these are all education. This is all free except for the 3-day Money School Essentials, which is like $200 for the 3 days. You get all the recordings and everything else. Again, we just use that money to put it in advertising to get more people in, that's all. But everything else is free. So this is all education. And it does, I will say it gets a little complicated because we do dive into not only basic topics, but pretty advanced topics sometimes. And Chris does go deep sometimes into various things. And so, but again, that's why we do various support calls. It's why we have the Ask Me Anything webinars. It's why we do these each week, and everything else. And so when it comes to Money School and education, it's almost like a fire hose. You almost have to just commit and devote yourself to say, I'm going to get on as many live webinars as I can and interact with the group. I'm going to watch as many of the recordings on the YouTube channel as I can. I'm going to subscribe to the YouTube channel. So when there's a new training that comes out, I can watch it and keep up on things. And so, Sean, if you could just put the YouTube channel in there too. What I'd ask everybody to do is, if you have never done this, just go over to the YouTube channel and hit subscribe. It does help us with the algorithms, and it does allow us to continue to put all this stuff out for free. We spend a lot of money on YouTube and video editing and content creation every single month. And so it just helps us with the algorithms. So Sean, just post that link. If you haven't already, if you don't mind, go over and check that out, and subscribe to that. And again, watch these videos because this is all very valuable education. And you'll notice in the large majority of stuff we do, it really is just education. Every now and then we'll bring an expert on that might have their own offer or something like that. But that's only because people want it. Otherwise, it's purely education, okay? So that's the way to kind of look at Money School and what we do. There are live events that fall in here too, but I want to come back to live events in just a second because that's a broader conversation that I wanted to go through. All right? Okay. Now, when it comes to the Money Multiplier, the BYOB Naugle agency, the infinite banking concept, this is really the foundation of what we're going to build everything upon, okay? So when it comes to IBC, okay, there's one question just to boil down the infinite banking concept. There's one way to look at it. Where our money goes first, okay? Now, to get to the point where that little sentence right there, where our money goes first, to get to a point where that actually makes sense to you, it takes a lot more, okay? So you really, so what I would recommend first is watching what we call the 90-minute video. You can watch it on demand on the YouTube channel, on chrisnaugle.com, on the moneymultiplier.com. You can go to any of my links and it's right there for you. We just started a new show every single Tuesday at 1 o'clock Eastern called Take Back Control Tuesdays. It's going to be the basic 90-minute how infinite banking concept works video. We're doing it every single Tuesday live. So join us for it. Learn how I explain it, how Jason explains it, Brian explains it, Carson explains it, Sean explains it, Chris explains it, Brent explains it, Hannah explains it. We're going to bring different mentors on that one throughout the months and the years, with different people sharing their version of how they teach the infinite banking concept. And that's what's cool about infinite banking. It's infinite. There's a million different ways to use it, a million different ways to teach it, a million different ways to understand it. And I know that for a fact because there's people on this webinar right now that watched Brent present, watched Chris present 10 times, and then saw me present one time and said, now I get it, to one little section of it, or vice versa. I can't tell you how many people that watched my presentation and then they went and watched Chris's and were like, that makes complete sense now, you know, because everybody learns a little bit differently. So how you connect with that is going to be different. And so we want to provide as many different ways for you to consume that and different ways to learn it as possible. So that's why we started the New Tuesday show. And so the other thing with the infinite banking concept is it is mindset shift. It is a big part of it. Yes, we use a specially designed and engineered whole life insurance policy with specific mutually owned insurance companies to build this banking system and do infinite banking with it. That's how it's done. But that insurance policy is the least important part. The important part of all of this when it comes to infinite banking and becoming your own bank is the flow of the money, the movement of the money, the velocity of the money. And that all comes with mindset, shifting away from what we started with, the 95% that do traditional financial planning versus the 5% that do things differently. This is what we do over here. And a lot of that is the mindset. And so each one of us can bring something new to the mindset of understanding the infinite banking concept. And so when I say, at the end of the day, it's all about where does the money go first. When you understand that statement, that lets me know you now truly understand infinite banking concept. Because what we're doing with this is we're not working any harder. We're not working any longer. We're not bringing on any more risk. We're not taking on any more risk. We're using the same dollars to go and produce more for us. And instead of bleeding out all this money to other institutions like banks are some of the richest institutions in the world. Instead of us bleeding out all of our money to the banks, we're going to keep all that money in our financial lives. And when you look at what that does for you over time, my lifetime and multiple lifetimes, generations in the future, it's mind-blowing the difference that you see. And the beautiful thing with it is, it's, again, you're not working any harder. You're not working any longer. You're not taking on any more risk. It's the one change, where your money goes first. Instead of it is somebody else's bank and checking account, Wells Fargo, Chase, whatever, you're putting that money into your banking system first. And that one change makes all the difference. And so that's my goal for everybody on here, is to say to yourself, what is infinite banking? At the end of the day, it's where my money goes first. And if you understand what I mean by that, perfect. Let's move on to other strategies. If not, let's keep learning about infinite banking. Okay, fair enough. All right. So that's that leg of the arm. Now, within the Money Multiplier, Naugle agency, infinite banking world, this is where there are multiple people that are helping you. Okay. So first off, you have your money mentor. Now you have a money mentor. So your money mentor is the person you initially do a call with. You talk about your strategy, your financial situation, your goals, what you're trying to accomplish with infinite banking, how much premium you're paying into the policy, what the policy looks like. They're answering all your questions to make sure you get to this point right here of understanding what IBC is. Okay, so that's your initial strategy agent, what we call a money mentor. These are licensed agents, okay? And again, that strategy, that call, as many calls as it takes to make you comfortable, completely free of charge. Yeah, we don't charge for any of that. Number two, if you do decide to start an infinite banking policy, start a banking system, if you determine that on your strategy call with your money mentor, you're then going to move on to what we call our apps team. Okay, we have an entire team that's dedicated to helping you get approved for this banking system. What I mean by that is, because this is a whole life insurance policy that it's built on, there is medical underwriting involved, just like any other insurance, life insurance policy. And so when you're working with the insurance carrier, they typically have you take a medical exam and ask about your medical doctors and history and that kind of thing. So you get assigned a specialist that acts as your concierge between the insurance carrier underwriters and our brokerage. So they're going to tell you, help you get the exam scheduled, make the application completed properly. If any records are requested, your application specialist that you're assigned to is going to be on that case, looking at it every single day to make sure you're moving forward. Okay. We also have a concierge team. Our concierge team is overlooking all of our infinite banking business, making sure that things aren't getting stuck, making sure that whatever needs to get signed and completed is done. The other thing that the concierge team does is they provide tools. This is what's even crazy cool, okay? Is on this strategy call, you're going to talk to your money mentor about your goals and plan for using the banking policy, okay? In most instances, somebody is going to either initially have debt that they want to pay down quicker while still building wealth, or they're going to want to use the policy for purchases, maybe like buying a car where you get back every dollar for every car you'll ever buy, drive, and own. Or maybe you're using it just to grow your wealth. You're going to put the money into the policy, pull it out, and immediately invest it to grow your wealth. Great. Whatever it is that you're doing with that policy, though, we're going to gather that information on the strategy call, and then your concierge team, while you're going through the approval process, is actually going to create your plan for you. So these are what we call our banking tools. And we have what's called a debt blaster. If you're paying off debt, it's going to take your debts, it's going to snowball, it's going to show you exactly how to pay off your debts in the quickest way possible using this new banking system called a debt blaster. So they'll deliver that to you. We also have a major purchase calculator to show you how to recapture the money. And we also have what's called a gains projector if you're investing. So if you want to see what it looks like using the policy to invest in a private money loan at 12% over the next 5 years, great. We'll put that, concierge team will put that into a tool. We'll send you over a report and we'll show you exactly what that looks like. Okay. So they're not only overseeing everything for you, and it's a good go-to, they provide an onboarding call twice a week so you can meet other new bankers, and then they provide all those policy tools to you as well. And actually the onboarding call that they do, I guess those are free seminars number 7 and 8 that we do each week, because those also do not charge. Okay, and again, we give you all these tools, all these reports completely free of charge. Number 4 is I-team. So the fourth person, once your application specialist gets you approved with the underwriters, you're ready to go. Your money mentor, you guys review the policy. Everything still looks good financially. Now it's time to sign it and fund it. So send the insurance company the first money that you've had come out yet at all. Okay. Once that policy goes in force, now you're covered. You have a life insurance policy on yourself. All that money that you put into it is now compounding and growing uninterrupted, tax-free for the rest of your life. And at that point, now you go over to the what we call the implementation mapping team, or the I team for short. The I team is now going to take all of this that you've done, and they're now going to teach you how to actually implement it into your life. So they're going to show you how to go in and access your policy. They're going to show you how to go in to the Money Multiplier website and see all the data and everything you need to know. They're going to teach you how to start taking loans. They're going to show you how to start recapturing the money. They're going to show you how to deploy it. They're going to teach you how to do banking in your financial life for your situation using what we created for you with this banking system. And then not only that, are they going to do that right away within the first few days of you starting the policy, but then moving forward quarterly, they're going to be reaching out to you, checking on you. How are things going? Are you keeping up with your plan? Is there anything we can do for you right now? So we're there for you, supporting you, helping you use this banking system forever, for as long as you're a client of ours. Okay. Now, I get asked a lot. Again, I said this before. There's a lot of financial education companies out there and people that teach this kind of stuff, especially when it comes to infinite banking. Why would we use you guys? Like, why would we work with you and not some other infinite banking company out there? First off, everything that I just showed you up here is completely free of charge. So none of the initial strategy calls and consultations, your app specialist, your concierge team, all of the tools and reports and everything that we give you to show you how, all the education and ongoing support for years to come to use this. You never pay us a dime, okay? We are licensed agents and brokers. We do get paid through the actual policies, just like any other insurance agent out there. Now, remember though, the way that we build these policies, we earn a 60 to 80% reduced commission compared to a typical life insurance policy. And it's even less than that when you compare it to like people that do IULs. Remember, we only do whole life insurance. Why? Because it's the only way to do infinite banking the right way. It's the best thing for the person, and it's the only thing we would do. I would never own an IUL, and I would never sell an IUL. Chris, the same way, our entire team. The people on our team that have IULs, unfortunately, bought them, and they regret it like anything, but they don't want to lose hundreds of thousands of dollars. So they're keeping them for the time until they can do something else with them. Some IULs you can 1035 and it makes sense to do. Some you can't, kind of depends. But just know, we are always going to do the right thing for you, the client, and we're never going to charge a dime for any of that stuff that I just went over with you. And not only that, but we have the experience. I have multiple policies. Every money mentor on our team, every money mentor has policies and are doing this in their own lives. Chris has something like 13 or 15 policies now. Brent Kessler has 20 some policies now, running literally millions of dollars through each month. And then not only are we doing this, the only ones that offer free, the only ones in the country that have these reports and tools that we offer and everything else, not only all of that, but then we have different ways that we can start introducing you for using this policy. And that's where things like Private Money Club come into play. But before I get there, any questions on any of the infinite banking stuff there? Let's see, Anonymous said, hello, I missed the first part due to unexpected service, but I really greatly appreciate you share the. Yeah, the recording gets put on the YouTube channel. So just go over to that YouTube channel I posted a minute ago. What is a 1035 on an IUL, and should I consider this? So good question. So we get this a lot, all right? There's a way in life insurance where you can take an existing policy and you can do what's called a 1035 exchange. And really all that does is it takes any available cash value in the existing policy and it moves it into a new policy cash value. And it does that without triggering any tax consequences. Because if you had an old life insurance policy and you just wanted to cash it out to take that money and put it into something else, there could be tax implications with closing the old one out. So by doing a 1035, it allows you to move the cash value into the new one without any tax complications. So it still ends the old one and we still got to start a new one. It just allows you to move. And then the cool thing about it is if you have a lot of money in the old one, we can dump it into the new one, but it does not affect the MEC values. So it's actually a way for us to jumpstart and really get a bunch of cash value in a brand new whole life banking policy without MECing the policy or having to add a lot of term to it, for example. So Brian said, if you have a term policy, can you move it into infinite banking? So Brian, it depends on where the term policy is and who it's with. And if they allow, for example, Lafayette Life will, in certain cases, accept term policies from other companies. And if it's convertible, it has to be convertible term. All that really means is that if they have convertible term and we can make it work, they won't have to reapply, for a medical rating and everything like that for the new policy. Up into whatever limit on that convertible term that there is. In most cases, even when there is convertible term, unless it was set up that way purposely from the start, like we'll do that sometimes where somebody for some reason can't do the whole life right now, but they can start a convertible term with the plan and intention of converting that into a banking policy in, let's say, 3 to 5 years. If it's set up from the start, we can usually do something with that. Otherwise, no, term policies, there's they have a term. That's it. You buy it. It's good for a certain amount of time. If you die, it pays out the death benefit. If not, it goes away. So there's no cash values, nothing we can typically do with term policies. Yeah, Brian. So Lafayette will accept as long as it's convertible. But what I found though is somebody might have like $100,000 convertible term. So when you convert 100,000 into a whole life, it just there's not much there to work with. So unless it's like a higher death benefit convertible term, then maybe that can make sense. But then I think Lafayette has some limits on how much. So just stuff to talk about. Let's see. Russ said this is all dollar denominated. Would this become sort of obsolete if an emergent new gold-backed BRICS currency? No, Russ, because the insurance companies are always going to trade in whatever currency is the mainstream. And so if somebody happened with a dollar or something like that, they would just convert over to using that. I mean, we asked that like with the digital dollar. Well, at the end of the day, a digital dollar, CBDC, whatever you want to call it, it's just a new means of currency. So it's still the same dollar. It's just provided in a different way. I don't think that BRICS is going to take over though, at least in my lifetime. So Mohammed, if you surrender your IUL, then it just goes away. They would give you whatever surrender value there is, and that's it. Jimmy said, as you continue to add policies, do you lean more toward less upfront cash value and increased future efficiency, or do you think your ability to utilize higher current cash values trumps? Jimmy, that's a good question. It does depend on your situation and how you're using the policies. If you need the money right now, if you are taking it and immediately investing, if it is more of a long-term plan, one of the things with like kids policies, since they do have so long, a lot of times we'll build it with more base. So the more the base can go in over more time. I still kind of like the higher cash value policies quickly though, but I also like to take the money and immediately move it. So it really kind of goes back to how active or passive are you right now, and how much of that money do you need right now? But it's a good question. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer for that, Jimmy. I think it's more just personal preference. Age parameters for a policy, anywhere from like a few days old for a baby. If they're under 18, it does need to be owned by a parent. But you can, as a parent, you can own the policy on the child or baby, and then you can transfer ownership them anytime after 18 or never. You own it, so you're in control of it for the life of the policy. So you can decide all that stuff however you want to do it. And then up into the 70s, we do people into the 70s. And again, somebody that's like, that doesn't qualify for health or age, they can always still own a policy, control it, use it, just have it on somebody else's life. So we can definitely do that. Great questions. All right, we've got about 15 more minutes. I just want to kind of get into Private Money Club a little bit real quick, because that is the third name, the third company you hear a lot within the Naugleverse. All right, so we got Money School, education, content, trainings, videos. We got infinite banking, BYOB, Money Multiplier, infinite banking, how all that works. I think it makes sense why you'd want to work with us. Again, we don't charge for any of that stuff. Okay, I'm controlling my money. I'm controlling my wealth. All right, and there is a second bucket real fast before I get into this. So number one over here, we have IBC. So I didn't get into this right now today, but just so you know, when it comes to infinite banking, that banking policy, that whole life policy, the money that's flowing into there, change one thing where your money goes first. That is going to be after tax dollars. Okay. So what I mean by that is by starting a policy, you're not getting any like tax deductions today or lowering your taxable income today or taking advantage of any other like tax stuff today. It's after tax dollars that go in. Now, once the dollars go in, the growth within the policy is all tax-free for the rest of your life. So all that compounding is tax-free. And that's why we want to put the money in there after tax dollars. So you get all that compounding growth. But we do get a lot of questions about, well, can I take my old 401k and dump that into a policy? Or can I take my IRA and dump that into a policy? And no, you cannot, okay? So an IRA, a 401k, a solo K, a SEP, a simple, an HSA, all these different types of retirement accounts. In the eyes of the IRS, these are all what are called qualified funds, okay? So we have qualified funds. So IBC is the non-qualified funds, and one of our goals should be running as much of our money through these banking policies as we can. Remember, the more money we put into our own bank is less money we're putting into somebody else's bank, which means more compounding returns and spread for us to make as opposed to another bank like a Wells Fargo or Chase making off our money. That's all that is. But if you have retirement dollars and old 401k, IRAs, things like that, you cannot dump those into an infinite banking policy. But we still want to control that money, okay? So this is a whole separate bucket. So if you want to look at it as buckets, this will be a whole separate bucket of money. So what we want to do with this, though, is what's called self-directed. We want to self-direct this money, and that gives us control over it. So if you have an old 401k IRA, let's move that over to what's called a self-directed custodian. I would recommend a Horizon Trust Company just because that's who I work with. But once you have that IRA, and there's no tax consequences, no penalties, no fees for doing anything like that, you're just putting your money into a qualified vehicle now that you can control. And then once you control it, then you can do all this other stuff with it that I'm going to talk about with Private Money Club. Okay. All right. Once you have a policy, once you have your money controlled in a self-directed account, once we have control of it, we're ready to build wealth. We're ready to get passive. We're ready to generate more income. We're ready to generate more wealth. What do we do with it? Okay. And that's become a big problem. The stock market right now is still bouncing off of all-time highs. Crypto is still going through the roof. We have all this stuff that seems to be at these overinflated, overhyped bubbles. I mean, I don't know what else to call it. And so a lot of people right now are scary to put money in the stock market, worried about leaving their money with their financial advisors because they've seen what happened in the past in economic downturns. And so where do we control our money? Where do we put it that makes sense, where we can grow it consistently, predictably, lower risk, and be smart with it? And so that's where Private Money Club was born. Okay, Private Money Club is, at the end of the day, a community, a platform where people that have money can go to find deals and opportunities, and where people that need money can go to find people that are looking for deals and opportunities. So just like we talked about before, and this could be a business owner that needs money, could be something else, but right now Private Money Club is primarily all real estate deals. So on one side of the coin, you're going to have this, and on the other side of the coin, you're going to have, we have somebody that has a deal, and we have somebody that has money. And PMC provides a community, a platform, a place for these people to get together, meet each other, build relationships, introduce each other to what they have, and make deals happen, make magic happen. And that's Private Money Club in its essence. And so if you're controlling your money and you're looking for passive, you're looking to move money, you're looking to have your money make more money, would it make sense to be part of a community that has people that have what you want? And if you're actively looking to grow your wealth, would it be smart to be part of a community that has people that are looking to give you the money that you need? So privatemoneyclub.com, just go over there right now, privatemoneyclub.com, and you can join as a free member. Just go on, join as a free member. Now, if you do that, please do me a favor. Please complete your profile and add a picture. I don't want your picture to be this little avatar person. I want a real picture. So go to privatemoneyclub.com. If you're not, don't worry about being a premier member, any of that right now. Join as a free member, create a profile, put a picture on there, and then go on the forum. You guys doing this? Go to privatemoneyclub.com, create a profile, create a username and password, create a profile, put a picture in, go to the forum, introduce yourself. That's it. I am new to BYOB. I have my first policy being started now, and I'm looking to build relationships to borrow money for active real estate deals that I'm doing in the South Florida market. Who are you? What are you doing? What are you looking for? Hey, I'm looking to build relationships because I am self-directing my money and I'm looking for new borrowers and deals and people to partner with on deals, things like that. And that's all you got to do is start building relationships. So Private Money Club, that's what it is. It's all about the relationships. And it's a community of some of the best people you'll ever meet in your life. And the reason I say that is because we just did an event in Salt Lake City, Utah, about 2 weeks ago. And I've now had multiple people come up to me and say, Stephen, the event was great. Like the speakers were cool. Like the venue was cool. We had a great time learning. It was great education, great content. But the people that were there and the conversations we had and how excited everybody was and how motivated everybody was, and not a staff, like the attendees, the students, the people that bought tickets. They said that I had multiple people tell me this, that they've been to go into masterminds and events for years. And they said they've never seen more people excited and pumped up and motivated and wanting to help and share and talk at Private Money Club's Money Tank we just had than they had at any other event they've ever been to. And these include events that are $5,000, $10,000 to go to. Money Tank provided a better community than anywhere else out there. So it just goes back to what I was saying at the beginning. You know, everything we build is about that community and attracting the right people. One thing I've learned in business over the years, especially in this industry that we're in, of financial education and self-help, there's a lot of fake people out there that always have specific angles for doing stuff. And I don't even mean an angle. I want to say it in a way that they want something from you. Okay. And every conversation you have and every interaction you have with some of these people, you just get the feeling they want something from you. And I don't love people like that. Okay. I like genuine people. I like being able to trust people. I like being able to hang out and work with people that I would want to hang out and work with outside of, if it was a job, you know what I mean? Outside, if I was getting paid for it, I would want to pay to go hang out with the people that we have around us. And so, you know, I hope that as you guys become part of this community and come to more of these webinars and come to the live events, I know we're doing one in Buffalo at the end of July. I know we're doing one in Utah at Sundance Resort at the end of October. I know we're doing one at the beginning of October in Nashville. So there's lots of opportunities to get out and get to these events. And so the more you come to webinars and interact and come to the group trainings, come to the live events, I just want it to be the right people. And so if you like that community, you know, I invite you to be part of it. You like that idea and what we're building here. But I just want to stress one more time, regardless if you come through Money School, through the BYOB Money Multiplier, through the Private Money Club, through one of our other awesome affiliate partners or you know, partner companies or something like that. You know, we have a lot of people here probably that have, you know, seen Hannah Kessler speak at an event and now they're following what we do. You know, regardless of where you came from, welcome. We'd love to have you here. Hopefully this came across today as, you know, we really are here to give as much as we can because we believe if we give, we get. So why work with us? Because we care and because we give away all this stuff for free for the most part. And to me, that's what it's all about. So we do look forward to building this community with you guys. I don't know if there's any questions or anything like that. I'm happy to answer them. So Nama said, do you have to be licensed to lend money on real estate projects? So as long as you're doing it as a private lender, Colorado is really the only state where you might run into some trouble with that. But as long as you're following the rules, lending to companies, not violating Dodd-Frank rules, things of that nature, no, you don't need to be licensed to do private money lending in most of those situations. Now, again, we're talking about private money lending, so it's why it's a little bit more why we do Money Club Monday every Monday. We do PMC Quick Start webinar every Thursday. So hop on those because, you know, it can get a little bit more complicated. Like there's certain syndication deals and private fund deals and things like that where you need to be an accredited investor. And so if you're a non-accredited investor, you can't really participate in stuff like that. You know, direct private money lending, as long as you're doing it the right way with the right contracts and documents and stuff like that, it's usually all good. So just know there could be a caveat to that, but typically you're good to go.
But I definitely just want to double down on what you said about it. The people that come to these events are just insane, awesome. It's kind of hard for us to believe sometimes as the people who put on the events. Not a bad person in the room.
Yeah, it's a great job. I mean, it's a testament to when you put out the right stuff, you attract the right people back. And I think we're doing a great job of that. And I know, again, it can get complicated with all the different names and brands and strategies. But if you just start coming, you'll start to see how it does come together. And start simple. You know, start with a policy and then start slowly learning about some of the other stuff. Come to a 3-day training, or I think we have the recordings for sale right now. You know, buy the recordings from the last one. And, you know, that's 3 days of everything I just talked about in 90 minutes. It's 3 days of in-depth going over all that stuff, you know, how to save on taxes, how to start a company, how to do private lending safely and securely. Like all that's, I don't have time in 90 minutes. And that's why we have to do so many webinars, put out content, do these 3-day trainings, do live events. Because the cool thing about this is you can get as little or as much as you want. And you can move as slowly or as quickly as you want. I mean, Sean, how many people do we have that jump in and they start a policy, they start self-directing everything, they take, they buy one of the success packages, a PMC, they're going to the bus tour, they're taking Accelerator, they're Premier members, they're coming to Money Tank, they're doing it all, and they're excited and they love it. And then how many other people do we have that's like, hey, I started a policy 2 years ago, I've slowly been watching, I think I'm ready to start doing some private lending, is it right for me to join Private Money Club now? 2 years later, absolutely. Oh, by the way, I just, retired from my job. So I got this 401k. I've heard you guys over the last few years talking about self-directed investing. Like, hey, now's a good time maybe to start with that. So we're here for you when you're ready for it, is the cool part. All right, cool guys. Well, I appreciate everybody being on. I'll wrap up this wealth webinar. See you guys next week. Thank you.
All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed that episode. We're putting up tons of them, but I think if you like this one, you'll probably like that video as well. Not only that, I've got a book that I created, Mapping Out the Millionaire Mystery, where we actually show you what the wealthy do in the game they play with money. I want you to have that for free. And if you want to know about all my new videos coming up, click that alert button, actually smash that alert button, and you'll be notified every time we put a new video. So we'll see you on the next episode.